it's me and Amaxter. We're back with Behind the Mod, Season 3, Episode 11 with Covers. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, so you've ported a lot of mods. Chickenbones mods, you've helped with Project Red and with COFH doing the stuff with their mods. So before we get started, how did you get involved with Minecraft modding?
So it was around back in the 1.6.4 era. I found Direwolf on YouTube. I've been playing modded for ever since 1.8 beta. Um, never really got into it past 1.2.5, and then around 1.4 era it started to pick up again for me, and I got sidetracked with other games. Yeah, I sort of pulled myself back towards it around the 1.6 era. Um, yeah, I found Direwolf. That was nice. Started playing his pack. Got interested in all of the new content that was there. It was very, very different from back in 1.2.5 when I was used to playing it. Um, and yeah, decided I was like, you know what? I know the basic syntax of Java. Let's dive in here. How difficult can it be? And then I don't know, we're here now, so
Yeah.
obviously probably wasn't that difficult.
And was your first, did you like make a first mod or did you port a mod to a new version?
Um, Funny story. My first mod was actually a port of a mod. It got released for a bit. It's unmaintained now. I did a port of power converters. Um, Most of that is dead now. I'm probably not going to continue it. Um, there were some other small projects that I kept to myself of just reverse engineering other mods, figuring out how things work. That's basically how I learned Java, is just to dive in and just reverse engineer how things worked. And yeah, I was able to gain a fairly good understanding of it. And,
Huh.
and I guess that brings us to now.
Yeah. And was so after power converters, what would you say like would you say the 1.7 to 1.8 and then 1.10 transition was your kind of moment where you did a lot of stuff?
Yeah, it was the 1.7 to 1.8 transition. That's where we lost a lot of big mods. It's a very, very steep learning curve to jump from 1.7 to 1.8. Um, the the sad thing is there's libraries out there now that can help these modders that are trying to do the move, but some of them just get stuck, and that's understandable. Life gets in the way. Um, Lemming had life jump in the way with him with um with the COFH stuff, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. Life
Yeah.
gets, yeah. Um, I suppose, yeah. It's mainly the 1.8 port is a difficult one. That's where I really stepped up. I took a good look at Chickenbones' stuff, and I was like, you know what, I can do this. I did it, and then I spoke to Chickenbones, and yeah, I was able to continue it, and I moved
Mm-hmm.
on to other projects.
Yeah. And sometimes one of the interesting things with chicken bones mods is while a lot of them had weren't replaceable in 1.8, there was also like just enough items, for example, in
Correct.
1.8, 1.10. And you kind of poured not enough items. Do you think people like wanted NEI back like the way it was?
In my eyes, you can't replace some of the features NEI had. Well, you can, but it just is not right to replace them. That came out wrong. Anyway, JEI does a good job of what it does, and that is what Mez wants it to be, which is an item panel and recipe viewing. It does an amazing job at that. I haven't really seen any mod step up and be as good as NEI was in terms of the widgets on the side, um, subsets, saving and loading of items, Creative Plus,
Mm-hmm.
um, time, day, all that sort of stuff. I mean, FTB Utils has some of this stuff, but it doesn't have all of it. Um, so my plan, if I'm allowed to delve a little bit deep into what I'm doing for 111,
Mm-hmm.
um, is to to make NEI more of a JEI add-on. It currently is a JEI add-on and does um it works well with JEI alongside it. providing all of the widgets and everything. But for 111, I want it to be a complete, almost rewrite and just have the widgets and Creative Plus. It sort of won't really be NEI anymore. Then it will be not enough widgets of some description, but it'll the widgets and Creative Plus will live on.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of times people just think of NEI as, oh, it was, JEI is just like almost direct port, but it's not. They're really different. Really
Right.
different kind of mods. Like they both have a similar set of functionality, but NEI had all of this sort of, widget stuff going on, with the left widgets and this other kind of customization you could do, like dumping,
Yes.
biomes and
Yes.
like ores and all that stuff, which was really helpful, especially for mod pack makers, back especially before 1.7. That was like a must-have tool.
Right. And a lot of those dumps have actually been rewritten. I've added to that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think you can now dump pretty much most of what can be registered, probably except for sounds. Last I checked. So most of the dumps got updated data, so they support the um, registry name stuff as well as IDs and all that. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say on dumps.
Yeah, that's that sounds weird. Um, yeah. The other stuff though, I think like Ender Storage, Translocator, that's people like that. And then there's Forge Multipart, and that's also interesting because there's MC Multipart as well. And I think you ported
Yeah.
Forge Multipart partly so that Project Red could port to 110, right?
Yes, myself and TJ looked at it, and it was basically easier to just port FMP up, and we're currently finding a good way to make FMP and MCMP interact well. Um, it's not easy, but it's easier than rewriting half of Project Red.
Yeah.
Um, the the main thing that Project Red needed from FMP was the fact that it's Scala. There's a lot of things that are just done for Project Red with the use of Scala. One could make the argument that we could write a wrapper for MCMP to a Scala based thing for Project Red, but it was just easier to port FMP up in 111. If Armadorns has done his job right with MCMP 2.0, FMP will cease to exist and probably just lie as a relic inside internal to Project Red to allow, yeah, as I talked before, just a Scala based abstraction layer
Hmm.
of sorts.
Yeah, the
Um,
Amadorn stuff is interesting because he sometimes he will update, he'll have a mod and it'll have a few problems and it'll be quite a while before he redoes it, and
right.
so his mods in that sense can tend to be a little unstable.
Yeah, and there was some issues at the beginning that initially forced us to push towards FMP. Um, I think that stuff is resolved now in his latest commit. I don't know how many months after we initially opened the issues and reported it to him, and he said he had plans. But life gets in the way. He has school. That's fair. Um, yeah. Um, for the more advanced people wondering, it was basically packet stuff. Armadorns was sending a lot of packets per every time a part needed to update in a block, whereas Forge Multipart sent it all at once.
Hmm.
So just a bit of optimization that would have absolutely killed networking, to be completely honest. But obviously it wasn't working out too bad, so props.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if there's still plans to like pull requests into Forge. I know there were some issues like you mentioned with the original version of MC Multipart, but it looks like a lot of developers are adopting the 2.0 API.
Yeah, the way he's pushing for the 2.0 API is fundamentally different from how Chickenbones did multiparts or MCMP 1.0 for rather. So instead of having a completely separate tile that handles everything itself, you just whack an interface on your block and away you go. You can just put any block into a multipart, any tile entity into multipart, just anything goes. It just works. It's really nice. It looks really good, and if he's done it right and it works as well as it looks, um, that's the kind of system I think Lex wants in Forge. Last I checked from the PRs and what he explained to me. Um, yeah, it was just the initial implementation was just too much custom proprietary stuff, and
Hmm.
Lex just wanted a hey, this block can be a multi-part. This is its size, go kind of thing.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see because now we have stuff like chisels and bits, like and all these other kind of micro block things, how
Right.
that's all going to work together.
They should work relatively well together. I mean they seem to do all right now. It'll just mean that it'll be a lot easier for these mods to um in some ways do multi-parts without actually having MC multi-part exist, for instance. So Chisels and Bits could still have all of its, fanciness. I'm pretty sure it can still do it already. Don't quote me. But it just makes it a lot easier for it to happen because it's not the multi-part interaction isn't revolved around the mod, around MC multi-part. It's revolved around you. You just tell MC multi-part what you want it to do.
Hmm. Yeah, and moving on, you're also helping port the COFH mods, which, if I'm correct, are very close to completion for 110, right?
Yeah, I think. Let me just pull up my chat log here. Lemming, I think he wants to release in the end of this weekend. Do not quote me,
Ooh.
but um, it's now 11 p.m. for me. He said at 7 p.m. 5.0, which should be like 12 hours maybe. So hopefully we're gonna get it soon. Some of the stuff he's done is really really nice, and I think your interview with him just showed how much he's got planned. A lot has changed since then, and no, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. And did you find like how do you get involved with them updating their mods, and what was that like?
I basically saw that Lemming was no longer active on the 1.8 branch for TE and was like, okay, let's do this, and just went into porting mode again and just knocked it out, and then contacted Lemming and was like, okay, so I have stuff, what next? And I think things just snowballed from there. He got more active, and life started to kind of step out of the way a bit for him, and he managed to find the time to actually sit down and we re, re we reworked a lot of stuff in TE. He basically rewrote it. Um, yeah, things just snowballed from there, really.
Hmm. And what is it like going through someone else's code?
Um, I mean, because that's all I've ever done, it's weird. I've sort of adapted my own coding styles over my times, but uh, for the COFH stuff in particular, most of it is generally really clean, and if you actually have time to sit down and look at the code base, you understand that it's everything's done for a purpose. Um, there's some other things like I'm not gonna lie, parts of Chickenbones' stuff had just been pulled through Minecraft versions and never really had the love and attention that they needed to
Hmm.
be cleaned up and more well maintained. Um, a lot of that has been fixed now. I'm actually working very, very hard in the 111 ports that I'm currently working on to refactor and rewrite and just generally improve Kojic and lib. Kojic and core's gone now, but um, for the most part, looking through other people's code is challenging because of their coding styles. I'm not going to name mods, but there's some mods out there that have absolutely horrible formatters, and I cannot read their code without reformatting it. But that's on me, not them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it must be like because everyone thinks differently, everyone programs differently. When you're working, when you're porting other people's mods, you're working with do you ever find yourself having to make choices like, oh, like maybe suggesting like maybe they should change something, the way something works, so that it'd be easier, like changing parts of their mod in order to help the porting process?
Sometimes, Um, with Chickenbones stuff, I had the flexibility because I could just do it. Um, with the COFH stuff, I knew Lemming still wanted to be involved with it and wanted to continue it, so I knew I was more constrained on well, not really more constrained, but uh, knew that I had to do stuff in a more COFH manner than just to do it how I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the time, I try not to rewrite large portions of other mods' code because they've obviously have it there for a reason. Um, I generally try and run things through Lemming before I go ahead and just rewrite a bunch of stuff. Um, so I guess in answer to your question, I I try not to um, make changes to mods just for the sake of porting. Sometimes there's no way around it and it's unavoidable. Other times, if I can avoid it, I will. Um, because A, it makes it easier on the mod authors themselves when if they want to come back and continue working on their code, they'll, you know, it'll jog their memory of what's happening and everything looks familiar. If they come back and everything's just completely different, then
Yeah.
they'll probably just lose some motivation. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's good to like help wanders out sometimes because it's not an easy thing, especially when you do have such big changes being made, like the 1.8 update and what some people are thinking the 1.12 update is going to be like.
the 112 update sounds interesting in theory. Mojang's implementation of such is subject to a debate. Um, the 1.8 change it was huge. You fundamentally changed how you interact with models and how you render blocks. Um, there was the GL State Manager hell and GL leaks, which most people probably know as "Hey, this block looks funny." Um, there, there, there's a lot of systems that I have written over my time of porting Chickenbones of stuff through the 1.8 hell. I want to say. I've been able to to write these libraries, and it was part of the reason why I was so easily able to move the COFH mods up and through. One of the other big limitations of 1.8 is um, every single possible model combination for every single block ever is loaded into RAM all at once, which is 99% of the reason why 1.8 has such a massive, massive hit to computers RAM wise.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think Forge is working on fixing some of that, but the only real solution in my eyes is to do on demand uh, creation of those models. So all of TE's machines, which last time I did the math, which was before Lemming rewrote it and added a bunch of things, there was like 3.1 million variants of machines. Yeah, there's no way that's going to be baked in RAM. No. Um, all of those different variants are when the block is requested, that model is created and then it is cached, and then that cache expires things after I think it was 30 minutes or so. So it's very efficient on RAM. It is a slight trade-off for a bit of CPU time to create that model, but once that model is created, it's going to be there for 30 minutes, and 90% of the time, if someone has something operating in a chunk or a machine's turning on and off, that model is not going to be recreated um, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a nice trade off to have, but others might argue the point there. Um, yeah, that's the main entry point to 1.8 is just how dramatically changed the model system is. Forge makes it better, but uh, it's on Mojang's part.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think the big challenges in 1.12 are going to be?
Tile entities. From what I've heard, tile entities are gonna take a massive, massive hit. Um, I don't I don't know the full details. I've only heard bits and pieces from various people, but from the sounds of it, it's gonna be a big update. Probably, well, we're gonna lose mods. And that's just a given. Any update, we're gonna lose mods, but it's up to those authors to just you know reach out for help, wait for Forge to test the water, so to speak, and make the necessary changes and everything, and work with Forge, not against them, to help them implement things to make it easier. Um, yeah, that's all I really have to say on 112.
And stuff like you mentioned, your library. Would you compare that to like McJitty's like compat layer?
I Some people could make that argument. I see it as completely different. CodeChickenLib is per Minecraft version. Compat layer sort of tries to merge them together, from what I've understood. Um, CodeChickenLib it undergoes massive changes every Minecraft change. There's a lot of things that I've been stuck with in this 110 cycle and just haven't been able to change because I don't know who's using CodeChickenLib. I don't know if it's widely used. I don't want to change something and break it. Um, there have been a few sacrifices where I've done that, but that's only been with freshly implemented stuff and stuff that I know that, like for instance, only the COFH stuff is using because I wrote it for that. Um, but I honestly wouldn't compare it to compat layer. It's a library, not an abstraction layer.
Uh-huh. So it's more just kind of a tool to help you develop rather than like maintaining across different versions.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's do you ever get people coming to you and being like, "Hey, help Asno report Thaumcraft or whatever." Like there's a lot of mods still that people really want to see ported. Um do you ever get those kind of requests?
um, Not those requests in particular. I'm sort of, in my eyes, not really well known in the community. People know me as, hey, that guy did stuff, but they don't know what I do or why I do it or anything like that. Um, I haven't actually gotten any of those requests, but I have gotten requests uh, from some people in the community that are just starting out with modding. Excuse me, that are just starting out with modding that need a little bit of help. I help where I can, but I'm no rocket scientist. My expertise is importing, so that's really where I can mainly help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. And I think, yeah, especially for some stuff, like I think lots of modders like to change their mod in a new version. But it
Right.
looks like, for example, COFH took the decision, hey, we want to keep things largely the same, at least from a content perspective, for users. Do you ever like an opinion on that? Like on how do you think most mods should kind of follow that style, or what do you think about that?
It's good to shake up the barrel. Yeah, I think if mods have the chance and they have the yeah, if they have the chance, then go ahead, do it. Shake up the barrel, innovate. Um, a lot of Chickenbones' stuff really hasn't been innovated on, so to speak. Um, I have some new features planned for some things. I need to run some of them through Chickenbones, but um, I have run one or two things through him so far, and he seems to like them.
Yeah, and like what you talked about at the beginning, the NEI changes, like that's a pretty big thing. Making NEI kind of an add-on for JEI, and I think that's the right way to go. But like, it's all dependent on, I mean, in your case, like how the I guess original maintainer or creator feels in many cases.
Um, so Chickenbone's initial plan when he spoke to Mez, and what Mez and I briefly went over when I assumed control, so to speak, was that NEI would be replaced in favor of not enough widgets, which was going to be a thing. I never got around to actually having time to do it. But it was basically going to be what I outlined before, which is just widgets, Creative Plus, magical things on the side of your screen that just work with JEI. That's what Chickenbones and Mez initially talked about, is that they were just going to do that. So that's the direction I'm going to go with things. Whether there's still some people that prefer the style that NEI had. I'm probably going to attempt to replicate NEI's style with JEI. So if you so choose to have NEI's styled vanilla smooth GUI, sure. I personally prefer JEI's, so it's probably not that high on my priority list, but it's definitely on the list. Some of the key features that I want to do is I want to completely break away NEI from any sort of ASM. It still does a heavy amount of ASM in 110, and if you're having any sort of issues with your inventory, just pull the mod, see if it fixes it.
Yeah.
I want to completely break it away from that, and I wanted to bring it to a more what the initial plan was. And that's I haven't actually gotten to NEI yet in my 111 escapades. Currently just got lib end storage, translocators, and chicken chunks working at the moment. Just been working on some of the massive changes I want to do in Chicken lib. I think from here on, the next thing is actually going to be NEI. So keep an eye on Twitter for things, I suppose.
Yeah, and that sounds exciting for people who do miss the NEI widgets, or even like you mentioned, the GUI, which I never really thought about because they do have a different kind of style of presenting themselves. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been awesome, and it's always valuable to get a different perspective on the show, and I think you definitely do have one because we've had people who port mods before, but that's kind of like solely what you do, and you're very good at it. So I think it's interesting, just all the kind of different kinds of projects you worked on. It's really interesting to see that. So any more like closing thoughts?
Keep an eye on my Twitter for fancy things in 111. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks for letting me on the show. That was very nice.
Yep. Yeah, and thanks for coming on again. And everyone, thank you for listening to us as a podcast or watching us on YouTube, whatever you're doing. You can catch us in all those places. And yeah, see you in the next one. Goodbye. Hey everyone, quick note after the show. Thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon. If you want to join them, people like Seth who support me, then feel free to check out my Patreon in the video description. And also Nodecraft, amazing Minecraft host. They sponsor my channel and my mod packs with the server, which is soon to come for all of you guys to play on, and they are great. You can check out the link in the description for 15% off your first month with Nodecraft. They are a great host. They have a custom control panel. Really easy to install mod packs, any mod you want. It's awesome. The great support. I love them. If you want to do that, then feel free to check out that link. Thanks, and see you in the next one.